Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 66. A few last minute discussions to have about the upcoming Six Nations and the introduction of the unofficial official Six Nations drinking game. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hey guys, welcome back. Big week this week. Start, as I'm sure you all know, of the 2018 NatWest Six Nations. No longer RBS.
Is NatWest the sponsor?
It's the NatWest Six Nations. Doesn't sound right.
Oh, for the first time, I'm glad I'm a member of their bloody bank.
I'm not sure it's going to do you any favours. Can you get tickets?
No.
Oh, it's not that handy then, is it?
No, not at all.
Excellent. Well, on that note, a few things we want to talk about. We're going to keep it fairly short today. We're probably going to be back with you again on Thursday once the team's been announced. And, of course, we're going to be with you on Saturday. So plenty of England Rugby Pod action coming up this week. So today, just a few things to talk about. I think just before we get on to that, though, of course, Dan, it won't be with us at the weekend. You're at a stag, aren't you? I'm
at a stag in Belfast, yeah. So unfortunately, I won't be here for the Italy games. We've got our ever faithful, good puppy, Ben Cooper, filling in.
Good dog. That'll be good. That'll be good to have him back on board. So he'll be stepping into the fray on Saturday to have a chat about the game.
Maybe even Sunday as well.
Sunday, probably more likely, since there'll be more to talk about. Because, of course, England play on Sunday. He'll be with us. We'll do a quick, as we've done in past competitions, we'll do a quick kind of preview, and then it'll be a half-time chat, a full-time chat, and then get the episodes out to you guys to see what you think of our coverage, if you like. Dan will obviously be back with us again for the Wales game the following week. So back to business as usual.
Cool.
So guys, today, a few rugby things. We've got something a bit different to talk about a little bit later on. But first up, mate, James Haskell and Joe Marler both been called up despite being banned.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. Joe Marler is probably the form loose head in the country at the moment. Would I start him over Mako? No, personally not. But I know people who know a lot more about front row scrummaging, so that's everyone. Differs in that opinion and think he's the form guy. So I think having him thereabouts the squad, because he will play a part later on. James Haskell, the injuries in the back row, and as I think Eddie Jones was saying, wasn't it? The most capped player is a guy who fails his driving test 5 times, which I believe is what my brother did, and my brother's pretty simple. So I think Haskell's.
Presumably Rob Shaw. I've not seen any confirmation either way, but I'm guessing Rob Shaw is fit. Is he? I've not.
They haven't confirmed either way yet. They said they're still saying touch and go. They're hopeful. I get the impression, and I'm basing this purely on no solid grounding, but I get the impression that he might not be. But I think having Haskell in the squad, and I think that's, and actually it was a thing when Haskell went in the squad, the first thing I thought is Rob Shaw won't be fit. I think having him about, the character he is, experience. And like you and me were chatting about this the other day, and he gets a lot of bad press. I mean, not by us, because we love the guy, but he trains, and you pointed this out to me, actually, in fairness, because, and we know this from multiple sources, he trains as hard as anyone. He is as dedicated as anyone. He's a massive character. I think having him there is largely maybe that side. Has his form deserved it? Arguably not, but does he as a person deserve it? I'd say yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think the injury list dictates the need for experience in the squad, particularly in that forward setup, and certainly the back five as they're now known. And so I think your Haskells and your Marlers, even though, as you say, they can't take part in the first couple of games, they're going to be essential for just keeping the squad together, particularly with a lot of the youngsters. Touch wood, fingers crossed. Hopefully, it's not so much of an issue against Italy, but certainly, despite not necessarily having the best form, Wales, it's a bit of a grudge match. It's a big game, and you can't afford to go into that with doubts. So you need You need guys who have the confidence, and often it's the experienced players that can provide that. And so even if they can't actually play on the field on the day, I think there's a lot to be gained from having them around. Just as you say, from an experience point of view. I think it's a good call. It's interesting, and I guess there would be people that would argue, would you not be better off having a Don Armand, for example?
I hadn't even thought about him.
No, you never do, mate. You never do. No. But there are obviously other options, and it's it brings me on to my next point, which actually is a kind of a bit of a jump, but I want to talk about the under-20s.
Okay.
They are playing obviously the same schedule, but they play Italy on Friday to 7 p.m. kickoff. I'm not sure if it's televised, and if it is, I'm not sure where, but check it. Have a look. But specifically, and I guess Nick Isekwe is possibly the slight odd one out, as you say, given his experience in inverted commas. But you got Marcus Smith, Nick Isekwe, Tom Curry.
Most of them would have, if they were at school with Marcus Smith, they would have bullied him. They're that much older than him.
Who has?
Like the under-20s. Marcus Smith will be younger than most of that team. Well, I know that wasn't your point.
Not even a little bit my point. My point is that Marcus Smith, Nick Isekwe and Tom Curry would all have been involved had they not been involved with the senior squad. So that's three big players for the under-20s that obviously won't be involved because they are linked up with the senior squad. And particularly in the case of Marcus Smith, who has who is in as a what do they call it? What does he call him?
Apprentice.
An apprentice player. So by that reasoning, you would think that there is no chance of him actually being played during the Six Nations, because it kind of defeats the point of having him as an apprentice rather than a member of the squad.
I'll be surprised if he pulls on a jersey.
Is he missing out by not being involved with the under-20s, playing at international level, but with the guys that will be there? These are the guys that he's going to be playing against when he inevitably becomes a big part of the England setup a few years down the road. Is this a big opportunity that he's missing out on by kind of sitting not on the bench even, but sitting in the stands to watch the senior guys play and being around them in training? Or do you think there's more for him to gain from training with the senior guys, but just not actually playing in the matches?
Yeah, my honest opinion is no, he's not missing out. I say this with all due respect to the under-20s. The under-20s, if you're playing England under-20s, you're a brilliant rugby player. I think he's beyond it. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. He's playing Premiership week in, week out. I think he gets a lot more from being with the senior squad right now. The under-20s is still... I remember... Do you remember when down in Bristol and we lived, and Johnny Goodrich, who lived next door with Tim Barman, he was playing, I think it was under-21s then, and we'd go and watch him play sort of England under-21. And, great. It was great seeing them. They're a really good team then. They had like Ollie Barkley, Alex Crockett, like obviously Johnny was there, Django. But the likes of like Sinbad weren't, because they were probably just that bit better. So the question I've got for you, and I'm pretty sure he's not. So Tom Curry, obviously, like you say, be involved in the senior squad, but he's not because he's injured. Is Ben Curry involved in the under-20s?
Yes.
I don't think he... Oh, is he?
Yeah, he is.
That shit's on my point.
Yeah. Well, this is why I wanted to bring this up, because yes, Ben Curry's involved, and we know that he's been involved in the senior squad in the past. He's not been utilised this time around, therefore he's in the under-20s.
Has Ben Curry been in the senior squad? I thought it was only Tom.
No, I'm sure. Wasn't it one of the brothers was in that Barbars game, and then the other brother went to Argentina or something like that? I could be wrong. But the point...
Either way, yeah.
I disagree with you. I think if you're not going to use them in the senior squad, yes, he might be better than everyone else out there. But these, as I said before, the guys that he's playing against, I mean, look at Samaro Ovatoje. What he did for the under-20s is the reason why he's now such a superstar for the senior squad.
He did it at the right time, as in that was. I don't know is the honest answer, but my initial instinct is Marcus Smith now involved with the senior squad. will get more out of being involved with the senior squad, even though realistically, I don't think he'll get any game time this Six Nations. I still think the value he'll get there, understanding that culture, understanding that.
I mean, he won't get game time. I think that
no, yeah.
You know, Eddie Jones has pretty much said he's an apprentice player, therefore he's not a member of the senior squad. So, do you know what I mean? Like it's saying, come along and do work experience with us. I just think there's more to be gained. You know, if he was a member of the squad and unlikely to be used, I think it's different. But the fact that he's going into this kind of almost knowing that he isn't going to be involved, I don't know.
What would you rather? What would you rather? If you were him, would you rather play for the under-20s, or would you rather be in that senior squad, train with them, you probably won't even be benched, but be part of all that Six Nations?
Well, but this is the key thing, isn't it? You know, you probably won't be benched. He, according to Eddie Jones, he's not a member of the senior squad. As an apprentice player, he's not a member of the senior squad.
Okay, so how you see that squad, how you read it, and I think you're right, actually. I think you are right there. But how you see it, if you were Marcus Smith, what would you rather?
I think it's a tough call, because I think if you were to ask Marcus Smith, he's obviously going to say as much involvement with the senior squad as possible, please, because he needs to be seen to be wanting to play at the absolute peak level. But I think in reality, the best thing for him is to play rugby. And play rugby at the highest level possible. Now, if there was a chance that he was going to play in the senior setup, then sure, that's a different scenario. But my point is, it's almost been kind of officially deemed that he is not part of that squad. I mean, it's irrelevant because this is the way that it is. It's a shame for the under-20s because he'd obviously be a great addition. You know, I wonder how much he will get out of being involved in a setup that has officially told him you're not ready yet. But we want you to see how things work, as opposed to being a star player. You know, at that kind of one step back. You know, in the under-20s.
Yeah, I think mate, it's a good point. It's a good point, and actually, I'm kind of almost coming around to your argument, but I think I'm just about sticking on
your own.
Sticking on the senior squad. I'm going to be a man and stick to my to my initial thought for once. I get it. I do get where you're coming from. And when you said, "Is it better he's playing rugby?" there is a part of me thinking, yeah, that would be better. But then he will probably be released back to Quins to play some rugby.
Yes, this is true. All right. Well, look, let's leave that for now, because I think that there'll probably be more to talk about regarding the under-20s. As results start to come in and we see how they're performing, and when we start to get a better idea of what the England setup looks like, if Rob Shaw is fit, it potentially changes things, because suddenly, a Nick Isekwe isn't necessarily looking likely to be utilised. Is Tom Curry likely to be utilised? There's a couple of other guys. There's two more guys that, if it's unlikely they're going to be used, same sort of question applies. The massive loss to the under-20s. Ultimately, we're talking about how to get the most out of these guys in case they aren't needed in 2019. But
then do you give other guys a chance to step up rather than make some people step down?
Possibly. I mean, I guess the thing is, if you're looking at Nick Isekwe as a back row, and you're looking at and Tom Curry obviously is back row, and
Nick Isekwe is not an international back row, man.
No, he's not. But that's what Eddie Jones is looking at him as. So
yeah, sure.
He's probably not going to get utilised. Unless he has to be. Zach Mercer is only now a member of the senior squad because they need him. Obviously,
he's awesome.
He's no longer eligible for the under-20s, but it's an interesting one. It was less about me having a particularly strong opinion, although talking about it, I feel like I'm swearing to you. But we shall no doubt discuss it again. So let's leave that one. A couple of other things. So obviously, it's Italy on Sunday, and of course, last year they were pretty sneaky. We won't spend too long debating the pros and cons of doing that. Although I think we kind of have both said over the course of the last 12 months that actually, despite our anger at the time, it was pretty smart play from the underdog to come up with a way to beat the better team. It didn't obviously pan out for them that way, but they certainly created problems. They probably did England a favour. Just showed them that you can't always just assume that everything is going to go to plan, and so you have to be able to think on your feet. And with that in mind, my question for you is: how much time do you think the England squad, Eddie and the coaches and the players, have spent thinking about what Italy might be able to do? Looking at the rules and saying, right, where are the loopholes? How could they create problems for us? So I'm not asking you what things you think they might do, because that requires a pretty in-depth understanding of all the laws. But how much time do you think England will have spent concentrating on, identifying potential areas for Italy to create problems in that way again? Or do you think England have said, they're not going to do it again?
So I've got two answers here.
Okay.
I think the coaches have spent a bit of time on it. I think the coaches have looked into it and been like, where could we potentially get caught out? I think the squad have spent no time on it. I think Eddie Jones has said to them, like, look, it's a game of rugby. We go out there, we play. Sorry, it's a game of rugby sport. We go out there, we
stick to the original one.
Stick to. I think Eddie Jones probably said to them, look, go out there, play rugby. If something comes up, adapt to it.
That's all well and good. But if the coaches have spent time working out what the problems would be, surely the players need to know about that too.
So I think.
Otherwise, you end up with a similar thing to last time.
Oh yeah, no.
We sat on the sidelines going,
it's something that they've come up with.
Oh, we thought that might happen. Why aren't they adapting?
Yeah, no, I'm sure if there's something they've come up with, they've probably engineered it into a training program.
Well, this is my point. There will inevitably be things that they can do. I think. I mean, I'm not going to try and, as I said before, it requires a pretty in-depth understanding of all the laws, the intricacies of all the laws. But there are certainly things that they can do. I know the laws have changed off the back of what happened last year to prevent them from doing that exact same thing again. But there's certainly are still opportunities for them to not compete at certain areas of the breakdown in order to disrupt things slightly. And I guess will they have had a few dedicated sessions, or not whole sessions necessarily, but sort of said, right, now we're going to spend the next half an hour, whatever it might be, just sort of establishing a few kind of things, to ensure that England do adapt, and not just adapt, but take advantage of it. Because I think that's the key thing. You look at what happened last year, and in hindsight, we're all there saying, if you just picked the ball up and went through the middle, you'd have scored 20 tries and they'd have been, egg on their face and all the rest of it. And I think that's going to be the key thing, isn't it? It's going to say, look, if they do try and do something, not only do you need to adapt, but you need to react to it and take advantage of it, because inevitably, to do something like what they did last year, they're going to leave gaps if you know how to kind of respond.
So, firstly, I don't think there is much opportunity for Italy to repeat that type of scenario. Had there been stuff that's been sort of identified by the coaches that is a potential area, I think in training it might have been mentioned, like, look, this is a potential thing. Like, this is potentially how they could manipulate it. If they do, this is what we do. Okay. I don't think they'll spend too much time on it. And do you know what? I would be surprised, and actually, if I'm honest, a little disappointed if Italy did that sort of tactics again. Last year when they did it, I thought, at the time, again, like you, I was angry. But afterwards I thought, do you know what? Well done, guys. Well done. That was smart. But I think if they do it now, they're almost betting against themselves.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this was the second part of the question is, do you think Italy will try and do anything? And I hear what you're saying, but is Italy going into this game knowing that they're not expected to win? They've never beaten England before. England number 2 in the world. They would be. Yes, they need to be confident and all the rest of it, but they'd be foolish to go into the game genuinely believing that they had a very good chance of winning it by just playing, normal rugby.
So Conor O'Shea has said, Like, look, we need to be realistic. If England play their best, Italy play their best, England win every time.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But he said, but do you know what? What we have to go in is think maybe we'll get a bounce of the ball. Maybe they'll have a bad decision against them. And then suddenly they turn. And that's what. And so I got the impression, and, you know, again, this is based upon no solid foundations, but I got the impression that Conor O'Shea's like, actually, yes, last year we had to do that because we had no other choice. We weren't there. But he seems to have done a lot for them. Like Benetton, have done fairly well in Europe. Zebra are doing pretty well in the Pro 14. I get the impression that actually Italy now are looking to develop their rugby. I think last year was a band-aid.
Yeah. Are you doing your washing up while we're recording?
Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah. Sorry, my cleaner's just turned up. So I apologise for.
No worries.
Any
good that you've got a cleaner. Well done, you.
Yes.
Well done, you.
Yeah.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair enough. I mean, it will be interesting to see. I think everyone will be. There'll be plenty of chat about it. I'm sure in the punditry before, during, and probably and potentially after, if anything does come about, which probably leads us on quite nicely to the final part of the episode today, and that is the introduction of our, let's call it our unofficial official drinking game of the 2018 NatWest Six Nations, brought to you by, of course, the England Rugby Pod. So you've come up with a drinking game for our. You've come up with a game for our listeners, and it involves a little bit of drinking.
Yeah, firstly, that's very kind of you because we did it together, but I'm happy to take credit for it. So actually, one of the things that's been kind of pissing me off recently is people like chatting the pod and they're like this, and we're like, guys, we're not positioning ourselves as experts. We have a down the pub guys chatting, and that's what we're about. So we thought, hey, why don't we put together, as I'm pretty sure anyone who's played at a rugby club, university for sure, will have. So we put together a little England Rugby Pod drinking game. Obviously, this is over 18s only, unless you're under 18 and you want to do it with soft drinks. I was going to say drink sensibly, but the honest answer is be your own man, be your own woman, manage your own life, and decide what's right for you. So where can they download it?
Very profound.
Yeah. I was
get smashed,
say,
get smashed, and and enjoy the game and drink really irresponsibly.
Just do it. You're a fucking adult. Do what you want.
Okay, so it's a simple game. We'll go through the details. It's going to be available to download probably just on Twitter and Facebook. We'll pop it out there. There'll be a link. It's going to take you to a web page. Print it, get it on your phone before the game, and you can just bring up the rules. So you've got reference as playing through. It's as Dan said, it's nice and simple. 1 fingers, 2 fingers, 4 fingers, or a half pint.
And just to clarify, that is a finger of your drink. Andy and I had a really awkward scenario when we started going through this, and we were talking about 1 finger and things. But just to clarify, so 1 finger is a finger of your pint, your wine, your Cinzano and Lucasade, whatever it may be. And yeah, shall I go through it? Yeah, I guess I can read it online, but shall I just quickly read out what they are?
Please do.
Please do. So, 1 finger, so a finger of drink every time Dan Cole handles the egg. So, guys, firstly, before we say this, so some of these are match specific, so could only happen during the match. Others can happen at any point. So, if you're like me and a bit of a gladiator, you can start the drinking game when the program starts, or if you're like Ben Cooper and a bit of a soft cock, you can start it when the match starts. But
or in the epic words of David Flatman, a bit of a nose.
I think it was Shanks, but yeah.
Was it? Well,
either way, yeah.
Either way, got mugged right off.
Yeah.
Not by this pod, though. Not by this pod. We're looking forward to chatting on Sunday, Coops.
Mate, we can't wait, brother. We can't wait. Especially as I go to help me with this. So 1 finger punishment. Every time Dan Cole handles the ball, every time England either knock on, forward pass, or concede a turnover, And another one, every time Owen Farrell does his interlock finger, which is a charity gesture after scoring. And that's something we support. So if he doesn't do it after scoring, I'm afraid you then do half pint.
Absolutely, yeah. I can't imagine him not doing it. It is his kind of his thing.
If it's not viewed.
But yeah, it's got to be seen. So if if the cameras decide it's not worthy of being shown, then that unfortunately counts as a half pint. Down it goes. So a couple of simple ones to get us started there, isn't it? They're nice easy ones.
I mean, they're the one thing.
There's going to be knock-ons and what have you, which hopefully not too many. But yeah, that'll get yourselves lubricated.
Yes, yeah. And then the two fingers. Every time England can see the penalty or free kick, standard. Every time England don't take kickable points. Now, this is obviously specifically. When they choose not to take them. Yeah, absolutely. And that's from penalty, not like, he could have had a drop kick there, drink. No, this is from just a penalty. Every time Italy's tactics from last year are mentioned. So if you're a proper gladiator and started at the start of this pod, you need to be drinking already.
So that one we've actually officially taken that one out because it is this game specific.
Is that out now?
It's out of the official rules, but I think it's one that for this game should be included.
Okay. I'm happy. Yeah, for this one, every time it's these tactics from last year mentioned, it might not be on the official rules, but that's a two finger.
And by this stage, you're starting to get a feel for how the game works. So, of course, any other rules you fancy throwing in, you can.
Yeah, God, yeah, and please do. And the final two things: every time the finishers are referred to as Eddie's or Eddie's finishers. If they're just finishers, that's fine, you're safe. But if they're referred to as Eddie's finishers or along the line with Eddie's name involved within the sentence, then two fingers. Now, guys, we're getting to the big man stuff.
The big boy section.
Yeah, now we're getting to the sort of front five type stuff. I mean, you guys in front five, you might not be able to pull the women, you might not be able to add up. You might not be able to dress yourselves, but this is where you can really come into your own.
You're probably all quite surprised, but Dan's actually not one of the front five.
Yeah, it's so weird. So the next one is four fingers or half a pint, whichever is...
four fingers if it's anything but anything
if you're
not
a man,
served in a pint glass.
Yeah. 4 fingers if it's not in a pint glass. If it's in a pint glass, half a pint. So... that's for every time they mention, and this pisses me off, but Johnny May's 60-metre time or any of his sprint times is as quick or quicker than Usain Bolt's. Every time a commentator or pundit, because this continues during half-time, come on, we're not soft-cocks, makes a comment along the lines of, that's why Mike Brown was selected at fullback. So it doesn't have to be those exact words, but if it's like, this is why Mike Brown's there, or Mike Brown's solid, that's why he starts, that's half a pint. This is one that particularly annoys me. Any comment relating to trees, half pint. I don't care if he's been tearing up trees, he's as solid as an oak, whatever.
He's a very charitable person, and he recently donated an awful lot of money to help plant new trees.
That's a full pint.
Full pint, nice.
It's trees. I mean the rules.
The rules are the rules. It's true.
The rules are the rules. And if England are losing at half time, then again, half pint. If England are losing at half time.
England but England have under Eddie Jones. England have been losing at half time quite a lot.
If we're losing at half time against Italy, I will not be happy.
Well, yeah, this is true. But it's the second half when England really come into their own. So that'll be an interesting one. Potentially get people fired up for the second half. So yeah, finally, Dan, the really big ones, the finish your drink round.
Yeah, this is finish your drink, and this is no messing about. Like, I'll finish it there. It's finish it there and then. Finish it right there. I'm not having any of the whole I'll finish it soon. No, just there and then. If England lose, finish your drink, go. Get some cyanide and drink that as well if England lose to Italy, because that's what I'll be doing. If at any point a comment that goes along the lines of, Owen Farrell is human after all, or relates to Owen Farrell not being superhuman or whatever, then
Off it goes.
finish your drink. Yeah. If a commentator or pundit mentions about Mako being able to play at fly half or actually any position in the backs, or like, oh, with those hands he could have been a fly half. Yeah, down. Get rid of it. And we've got a couple of wild cards in there. If the England Rugby Pod is mentioned at all, everyone. I mean, guys, that's not going to happen, so don't worry.
Isn't it?
Well, I hear we're getting...
When the England Rugby Pod is mentioned,
then
5
everyone's
Jaeger bombs.
Per person.
Per person,
just go,
or a pint.
Yeah,
or a pint of Jaeger bomb.
Yeah, I'd go for pint.
But
yeah, 5 Jaeger bombs. And the other one, like, obviously we're not going to do the rules without Don Armand. So every time Don Armand is mentioned, and this is going to take some tactical seating for where you watch a match, every time Don Armand, actually not every time he's mentioned, every time he's mentioned...
If you're about to do that weird kissing thing, Dan, then...
No, that's it.
Cutting
that's
it off.
Every time he's mentioned with regards to not being in the squad, you have to kiss the person on your left on the lips. So I suggest you sit next
everyone.
to
You can ignore that one.
So if it was me, I'd look to sit next to my best mate's wife or mum or sister or something. But if you're a Ben Cooper, you'll probably look to sit next to a prop or something. I love the fact we're mugging off Coops. So guys, just a bit of fun. Obviously, the Don Armand thing is absolutely part of a rule, so you have to follow that. But yeah, guys, download it, have a bit of fun with it, and don't drink sensibly.
Sounds good. So yeah, that's probably enough for today, guys. As I say, we'll be back on Thursday to talk about the squad. It'll be interesting to see what the starters and finishers look like, and then of course the game.
Do you mean Eddie's finishers? Oh, sorry, 2 fingers. I actually just had
Sorry about that.
Tea there. Sorry.
Yeah. And then of course the match is on Sunday. There's obviously a few games on Saturday as well. I had to check them out, but yeah, the big one is on Sunday, and we'll be bringing you the little preview, halftime analysis, and a little full-time roundup, courtesy of myself and Mr. Ben Cooper. So we will obviously have all the stats. If we get the chance to make a note of what other people have found out for us, ready for you then. And yeah, hopefully it's going to be the start of a great Six Nations for England. And
mate, when you're speaking with Coops on Sunday, please ask him how it went when he went swimming with Billy 12-3s. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, I mean, now you've posed that one. It seems rude not to, but so I'll be sure to ask that one. And give him an opportunity, a platform, if you will, to fight back at you, since you won't be around to defend yourself.
And then when I listen to it on the Monday, when I will be insanely hungover from a long weekend,
from
I look forward to crying
on Friday night.
Yeah, beers, please, Pinot Noir. Look, guys, thanks very much, as always, for listening. We will be back. When are we going to come back? Thursday, once they announce the team?
Back Thursday, probably Thursday afternoon. Once the team's been announced, you'll have that information. That will be another short and sweet one. And then, of course, the weekend. So, yeah, guys, get over to, Facebook, Twitter, to find a link to this episode, hopefully, if you haven't already subscribed. But we'll also have the game to download that right there. You can, as I said before, print it off or just have it on your phone for reference. Head over to iTunes, rate us, review us, all the usual business there over there, and check out the website in www.englandrugbypod.com. We're
still making drinking games rugby. We're such lads. Toodles.